my status or something. And then now I know that he's cool. Nah, he's not concerned with that at all. He said, look, you talk to Yahweh, let me know. Yahweh cool with me? He ready for me to come back? Let me know. If not, I'll be here until Yahweh. And whatever Yah say, let it be good. That goes right back to what you said about how confident his prayer was. Whatever judgment you got for me is righteous. I accept it. And the quicker we get to that state where we can say, I am a sinner. This is the indignation of Yah because of my sin. Whatever you see fit, I know it's going to bring me out to be better than what was before. So here it is, Yah. I'm here. Whatever you got for me. I'd rather fall in your hands than the hands of man because man is wicked. But you always going to try, like you said, always going to find a little bit of way to pick up the last little bit of water that you can scoop up and put into a cup. So we know Yah is merciful. We know that we forsake Yah's mercy by heeding to lying vanity. So he's not even going to allow his heart to mess up anything. You go talk to Yahweh and let me know what I need to do.
Verse 29. Zadok therefore and Abiathar carried the ark of Elohim again to Jerusalem, and they tarried there. And Dawid went up by the ascent of Mount Olivet and wept as he went up and had his head covered.
All right, so let's look at that. Had his head covered. All right, so was it just regularly covered? Age 26:45. Age 26:45. Kafah or chakfah. Chakfah. CHAPHAH, which age 26:45. And that's a primitive root. Compare age 26:44 and age 26:53. To cover, by implication, to veil, to encase. When you encase something, you're covering it. Protect, seal, cover, overlay. So he's covering his head fully. He's veiling his head. When you just put something on top of your head, this ain't no veil. Mm-hmm. A veil covers the front of something. You don't veil the top of your head. When you put a veil, it's in the front. So he's having his head veiled. It's covered fully and veiled. Because when you put a veil, you don't have just something that's on the top of your head and it just fall down. You have to wrap your whole head and cover your head. So he's going up there weeping. He's weeping. This is a warrior. This is a man that's killed thousands of people or tens of thousands of people, according to the thing, which I believe he's really talking about, you know, as his leadership. I doubt he killed 10,000 people. But either way, he's mourning. He's mourning.
Brother Palayahu had a comment. He says, customs for all our people was to cover their head. Women who were married always had a covering on. This is our custom, not a law. Example of married women being covered is in Numbers 5, which refers to the spirit of jealousy.
Right. And we're going to get into that as well. That's Numbers chapter 5 and verse 18. So Palayahu is showing you that, yeah, it was custom to cover your head. And furthermore, we would have had our heads covered too. It's hot. You just came from over there. Of course, you in Africa, you going to cover your head, G. I'm sorry. I'm from Miami. It's close in the same latitude and longitude. And before Miami, I was born in Jamaica. It's hot. You going to cover your head. So we're going to get into that next afterwards. And we're going to see why the woman had her head covered. And just to show you was our culture. But Khan, was just what Palayahu said. Brother Palayahu said point blank. It was our custom. It doesn't mean it was our law. Customs is fine. We want to learn our customs. What we don't want to learn is traditions that contradict law. Because now that's idol worship. But if the custom was just like Purim and all that, that's custom. That's not law. So you can't rebuke somebody for keeping Purim or Hanukkah. Those are customs. That's tradition. Why would you not want to keep tradition of Hebrew culture if it doesn't contradict the law? So of course we want to do that. So I appreciate the priests and all the priests that are commenting. These are brothers that have helped us in our walk as well. You know, we might have disagreed on some things, but nobody threw us away. We didn't throw them away. And eventually when we started seeing things on the same page, we were like, praise Yah, this brother was right. Or praise Yah, they said y'all brothers was right. That's humility. We are all the body. There's only one head. Ain't no other head in here. You got a head of this house. That's it. But At the end of the day, Yahshua, which is this word in flesh, is the head. Everybody else is the body. We go where the head goes. The head says, we keep commandments. So the body keeps commandments. All right, go ahead, brother.
Are we continuing in?
Yeah, go ahead. We didn't.
Samuel.
Okay, no, we got the point. We got the point. Let's go to Bamidbar. Let's go over what Brother Paliyahu just brought up.
Bamidbar.
Numbers. Bamidbar. Numbers. Chapter 5. And another brother we want to do a shout out to is Zion Lex. All praises. Zion Lex is another good Hebrew scholar that's given us a lot of information. He just put, I like the one that post that he just put up about how the first 5 books, Torah, how it actually gets a complete thought. It's deep. All praises. The Most High, like Yoel said, is pouring out his spirit on his young men and his maidens and his young women, his handmaidens. And we're having visions and dreams and we're learning things. That lets you know we're getting closer to the time. The Most High is preparing to come back. So he has to pour his spirit on us so that we can be holy, so that we can be presentable when he comes.
And a comment from Brother Yisrael says Ezekiel 16:10 shows where Yah covered the woman's head as a sign of marriage through the expression of leading by example. All praises.
Let's look that. I wasn't aware of that one. That's a good one.
All right, so I'll keep my finger here and we'll look at Ezekiel 16:10.
Okay, Ezekiel 16:10. You can stay there. I'll pull it up here.
All right.
That way you can keep your spot. Ezekiel 16:10. It says, I clothed you also with broidered work and shod you with badger skin. Well, now we know badgers was a mistranslation. He would not cover you with an unclean animal. It says H8476, Takash, probably a foreign derivation, a clean animal with fur, probably a species of antelope. Then it has a dash, badger.
Badger got whole hands. That ain't
come on,
that's
bro.
Not hoofs. That's not
stop
it,
man.
Hoofs
Stop it. They trying to see who's stupid enough to go put some badger skin on them. That sound like what's his name, Johnny Boone, or what was what's the dude name? Boone, Tom Boone, or whatever the little Gentile name that put on a little rat on his head and was like, oh, I'm gonna discover stuff. That's what that sound like. So all praises, Brother Israel Beard. I appreciate that. I didn't even pay attention to that. And what he's doing is he's showing how he has clothed his wife, Yasharah. So the brother who's taking it to another level, he's saying, look, a little bit above that. Brother Israel, above that. It's talking like it's talking about a wife. It's talking about the children of Yasharah and how he brought us and how we are in subjection to him. So the wife is in subjection to her head. Her head is her husband. And when she uncovers her head, she disrespects her husband. So she covers her head. But when she behind closed doors, what you think she doing?
Allow her glory to be seen by her husband.
By her husband. She uncovering her head. And let me tell you, when that woman has her head covered, and everybody, I wonder what her hair looks like. I wonder what her hair looks like. Oh, man, I bet she beautiful. And she take off that head cover, and that hair flow down like that, the door is locked. This is what belongs to that husband, the one who's covering her, the one who's bearing her iniquity. That belongs to her. That ain't supposed to be to no man. What's the first thing a woman do? First thing she do is get her hair done. She get her hair done because brothers is like, man, your hair is pretty. Baby, you beautiful. So to avoid adultery, the women covered their head.
He said, I clothed you with broidered work and shod you with badger skin, and I girded you about with fine linen, and I covered you with silk.
Right. Fine linen's white linen. Go ahead.
I decked you also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon your hand and a chain on your neck. I put a jewel on your forehead and earrings in your ears and a beautiful crown upon your head.
All right. The earrings, that's another one. That's a whole another discussion right there too. All right. So all praises for brothers adding some more stuff in there, because this is how we learn. This is how we learn. We got to being able to speak so much about this word, not because we just some Hebrew geniuses. It's because we learn from y'all.
Indeed.
We learn from y'all every day. We learn from the comments.
Hallelujah. So we're going to pick up in
Bamidbar, chapter 5.
All right, so I'm going to go to the part about...
Let's go to down to... let's start this.
Verse 5? Is either verse 5 or
Yeah.
verse 12?
Go ahead and start that so we see what's going on here. Start at verse 5.
And Brother Israel says, the covering of silk is the head covering along with the modest dress.
Right. Modest. Modest meaning not all tight on your body, showing the rest of your body. That doesn't mean it wasn't beautiful. It's embroidered. That's work. It ain't just put a pillowcase on you and sent you out there. What man wants your wife looking like that? A jealous man. But a man who's confident in his woman say, look, ain't that Brother Jonathan's wife over there? Man, she's beautiful. Look how elegant she is. She's beautiful. She got jewelry. She got everything because she got a man who's taking care of her and she taking care of her man. So that's the Most High didn't say go out there and look like Casper the ghost. He didn't say that. You saw what he did to us. He got our priests wearing 12 jewels and diamonds and chains and gold and all that.
Flashy.
Right. But you were supposed to, your inside was supposed to match your outside. That's why it says to the woman, don't let your cosmos, your world, be the outward appearance. Your world, your cosmos in Greek is supposed to be your inward. That's where your beauty is supposed to come from, the inside. And you're supposed to see an example of it, like a good book should have a good book cover. You see it on the outside. But just because it got a good book cover don't mean the book is good. You got to open it up and read.
So make sure your contents match your cover.
Right, right. And start inward first. Let's go to Numbers 5 and 11.
All right.
Todah, Brother Paliyahu.
And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, and for our Yahuwah, and Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, if any man's wife go aside and commit a trespass against him, and a man lie with her carnally, and it be hid from the eyes of her husband, and be kept close, and she be defiled, and there be no witness against her, neither she be taken with the manner, and the spirit of jealousy come upon him. So it's almost giving the indication that the act alone can provoke a change in like the
Continence,
metaphysical aspect of a husband. Like, yo, something's up. I don't even know what it is. Hey, you been doing something?
Right.
And the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be defiled.
Be not defiled.
Or if the spirit of jealousy come upon him, and he be jealous of his wife, and she be not defiled, then shall the man bring his wife unto the priest, and he shall bring her offering for her, the 10th part of an ephah of barley meal. And he shall pour no oil upon it, nor put frankincense thereon, for it is an offering of jealousy, an offering of memorial, bringing iniquity to remembrance.
Because there's iniquity here one way or another. Either it's this man falsely accusing his wife, or his wife is doing something she ain't supposed to do. But because our law is righteous, just because you think somebody did something, you can't stone them to death. This is why Yahshua said, man, woman, where are your accusers? Oh, they ain't none there. Prior to that, he said he without sin cast the first stone. Go ahead, bro. You know the law, elders. If you stone this woman, and I say, wait a minute, this is unrighteous judgment because there's no adulterer with the adulteress, then that man would have been stoned for unrighteous judgment. So we know that we can't judge unrighteously. So you can't just stone your wife because you thought that she cheated. You have to catch them in the very act, which means you got the man who's not you, and you got your wife, and you caught them. And you have to bring that to the judge. Now, that is because you didn't catch somebody doesn't mean they didn't do it. Doesn't mean they're going to get away with it. There was a process for this. And guess what? What if you just a jealous man? Why you got the ankle showing? You're trying to get a man, ain't you? Bring it to the priest. No, you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay some money. You're gonna pay some money, and you're gonna bring some offering so that, all right, well, I'm gonna take your word for it because money's low right now. So you ain't finna mock the Most High. The Most High got these laws here for a reason.
He can't afford to be jealous.
He can't afford to be jealous all the time. Maybe you should have got the ugly girl then. You should have took you Leah instead of trying to go after his sister, because he thought Leah was not attractive to the eyes according to the word. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And the priest shall bring her near and set her before Yahweh, and the priest shall take holy water in an earthen vessel, and of the dust that is in the floor of the tabernacle the priest shall take, and put it into the water. And the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh, and uncover the woman's head, and put the offering of memorial.
Hold up.
Rewind.
All right. And the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh and uncover the woman's head. Why would he have to uncover the woman's head? Did it say, and you shall take her in there and you shall put a fitted a starter cap on her head and bring her in there and then take off the starter cap?
It was the custom that she was already covered.
This was the custom. She was a wife. Of course she had her head covered. She had her head covered. This was we were trying to stop because adultery and wickedness, sin, period, it defiles the land. It affects everybody. The land is defiled. Everybody being affected. Not just you and your house. Everybody. Because now the evil spirits are comfortable being here. Oh, look at this defiled land. Let me hang out over here. It goes through dry places. Remember what Yahshua said? Oh, it's a defiled land. Dry. Ain't no spiritual water here. Oh, hey, come here, 18 other demons. Let's hang out. Then here you go, innocent as ever, stepping outside of your hedge. Now these demons on you. This is why we have to rebuke one another, because it only take one person to come in here with a bad spirit, and it's going to affect everybody. Go ahead. Read that from beginning again, 18.
And the priest shall set the woman before Yahweh and uncover the woman's head and put the offering of memorial in her hands, which is the jealousy offering. And the priest shall have in his hand the bitter water that causes the curse. And the priest shall charge her by an oath and say unto the woman, if no man have lain with you, and if you have not gone aside to uncleanness with another instead of your husband, be you free from this bitter water that causes the curse.
All right, so it's saying no man has laid with you, nobody slept with you, and nobody has gone aside to uncleanness with another instead of your husband. So in other words, I didn't sleep with him per se. But was you over there doing some other acts that only a husband's supposed to have? So you ain't finna get no loophole with Yahweh. I told the truth, Yahweh. I didn't have sexual intercourse, penetration with no man, so I'm good.
Hey, look, there was a precept that if two men were even fighting and one woman reaches out and touches his members, her hand was to be cut off.
Cut off. Just for the fact that, I know you trying to save your husband from dying. I'm sorry. If I'm about to die, you're just going to have one hand. I'll be your other hand.
Grab him on his elbow.
Grab whatever you got to do. If I'm about to die, because I can't, live to fight another day. Ain't no rocks. You kicked them a couple times. No, I'm just playing. But anyways, that's the law. Even in a fight to save your man's life, you can't touch that other man. His member is what it said specifically.
His secrets.
Right.
Verse 20, but if you have gone aside to another instead of your husband, and if you be defiled and some man have lain with you beside your husband, then the priest shall charge the woman with an oath of cursing. And the priest shall say unto the woman, Yahweh make you a curse and an oath among your people, when Yahweh does make your thigh to rot and your belly to swell. And this water that causes the curse shall go into your bowels to make your belly to swell and your thigh to rot. And the woman shall say, Amen, amen.
Woo! Swole bowels, swole belly, and a rotted thigh. You ain't got to worry about nobody else trying to sleep with that woman, including the husband. And then notice, he shall, and it says, the priest shall charge the woman with the oath of cursing. That's another one that they mess up all the time. Cursing, and interesting, the word for cursing is Allah. A-L-A-H. Allah. H423. And that's from H422, and imprecation, which is to wish something bad on somebody. Like in Jamaica, we say bad mind. When you bad mind somebody, you just wish some curse on somebody, that they would have some kind of bad thing happen to them. That's cursing. And if your name is just bad, that's cursing. That's a curse. Every time they mention you, it's just a curse. Oh, he's just bad business. It's just horrible. This man is a curse. Everything around him is just destroyed. And that would be somebody that don't keep commandments. Because everything around you going to be bad. going to be number bad luck. So you can understand why the other nations don't want us in our neighborhoods. Because we're going to do the same things that the other nations do. And that's going to bring a curse to us. That's going to bring a curse to the land. That's going to cause the property value to go down. So you can't blame them for not, oh, there goes the neighborhood. Because we know these Hebrews are not going to keep the law.
Man, yeah, that's the number one thing that keep us cursed. Not doing these commandments. Like, that's in your DNA. Like, that's following you all the way down. So, like, at this point, that should be our message for our Hebrews. Learn to get back in touch with the Creator through the commandments.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
Humility, knowing that your sacrifice has been made for you. The path has been laid so that you can come back and return to your Father. Walk in obedience to His commands and His laws.
Amen. Amen. And we know that's in our DNA because He said we are sottish people. Because the other nations, which we're going to get into, we're going to read a little bit later too. I don't know if we're going to read that part, but we're going to go into that chapter. The other nations realize, man, we don't know the manner of the laws of the God of this land. Therefore, Yah has sent lions to eat us up. They knew why they was getting dealt with. They said, go get some of them priests to come here and teach us how we need to keep the laws in this land. We don't know the customs of this land. Why they can figure it out? Why can they walk by and say, you see, shaking of the head, a hissing, you see these people? They have forsaken Yahweh's law. So Yahweh has destroyed their land and knocked them from the top of the totem pole to the bottom. Everybody else can get it but us. Now I'm going to eat this pork in the name of Jesus. Everybody else get it but us. But they can get it and not apply it because they're not under the curses. They're not under the covenant like we are. So that's why it doesn't affect them. So they can say it out of knowledge sake and it don't affect them. Well, we can't say it out of knowledge sake. We got to say it out of knowledge and truth sake or it's going to affect us. All right. So I think we got that. So let's look at the priests real quick. Leviticus chapter 10. Wayakra chapter 10. Because again, we don't just tell people stuff. We like to go into the actual word. All right. Start that at verse 1.
And that was Leviticus 10. Let me see if I'm in the right. There it is. Leviticus chapter 10 and verse 1.
Before we start, we have Brother Jonathan Greer. He put a comment here, Psalms 147 and 18. He sends out his word and melts them. He causes his wind to blow and the waters flow. He shows his word unto Yaakov, his statutes, his judgments unto Yasharal. He have not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise you, Yahweh. All praises. Todah for adding that, Brother Jonathan.
Indeed, you know what that establishes is that you have that teaching replacement theory where it's like all there's spirit's all about spiritual Israel now,
right?
Not knowing that what Paul pretty much said in that verse is that you grafted in branches boast not over the natural branches, right? Because they still exist.
Right.
They're still being held to this certain standard. The covenant still stands. It was an eternal precept. It was a one of those throughout your generations type thing. And our generation is still enduring on the earth. So this still applies unto us. And anyone with understanding will begin to see, because there's Gentiles that understand who the true children of Israel are. Understanding how, and if I may, interject this part into it, all they have to do is sit and think. It was like, because this is something that other people bring up too. They say, if we have such a just God, why would He have us in slavery? If He's so just, why would He allow this to happen? Maybe He said that this was going to happen.
Right.
Maybe
He is just.
Maybe this was one of His signs and His wonders that was going to be upon His seed. You know what? Actually, that is what He said. He said, this curse shall be a sign and a wonder unto you. The same way how Yahshua was like, show us a sign. He's like, the only sign you're going to see is the sign of Jonah.
Right.
So these signs that you're looking for didn't come according to your own understanding. Yah established in advance before it came to pass exactly how His glory was going to be fulfilled in these people. He's not going to show you all these great and wonderful things if you're not doing the right things.
Right.
But he's going to show you great and exceedingly dreadful things if you're going and walking in disobedience.
Right, right. And it's not like he just started this in America. Like, you know what? It's going to start thousands of years later. Man, this has been one after the other, and then it increases. 7 days, Philistine. 7 years, Babylon. 70 years, Babylon. 430 something years, 430 years to the self same day. Mizraim. 400 years, America. He's like amping it up little by little. By the way, I'm going to send you again, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. I'm going to send you again into Mizraim with ships. Reverse that again. Again? Ships. So we took a ship to Israel, to Mizraim. What did we take a ship across? We walked there. So if he's saying again, he's bringing you into the house of bondage again by ships. The ships of Tarshish. Tarshish is Spain. He's telling you all this. And guess what? Them ships of Tarshish, them Spanish ships bringing us back. Brother Wesley, you have something?
Oh, no, not really nothing. Just like a quick comment. But
Sure.
Just those escalating punishments that remind you, like, as a father, you've probably done that with your children.
Right.
Because I know that's happened to me as a kid, definitely.
My escalations with my girls is don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm telling you, I'm getting up. Where my belt? Where my belt? That's my escalations. Then eventually, just give me the my phones. Every last one. No. All right. I've been talking to y'all. I've been telling y'all. That's it. That's it. Then 5 minutes later, like, all right, here you go. Don't do it again. They be laughing.
There's a couple questions that may have gone neglected. I see Kareem Berry is asking that hers be addressed. For some reason I'm not able to find it again. Yeah. And also brother, I can't remember his name, but he's asked about fringe applications. Brother Yehuda Yasharal.
Excellent. And we're gonna get into that. If somebody can find that comment for me for Kareem Berry, I saw it.
She asked something to the extent of the language.
Oh yeah, which language should we be using? Okay, that's what it was. She was asking. I didn't see the whole comment, but I'll comment.
It was
on
like,
that.
what language should we be using in this polluted world, or something to that extent? Right.
Well, for one, we should be trying to get back to our culture. Again, the language that was spoken in heaven was Hebrew. How we know that? Because when Yahshua came from heaven and talked to Saul, he called him Saul, and he spoke to him in the Hebrew tongue. That lets you know that's the language they speaking up there. And furthermore, that would have been the original language, and everything would have spawned out after that. That's why you go to ancient Chinese history, which recorded book Chinese history is literally 200 years within the time of the flood. And when you look at their pictograph, it is very similar to Hebrew. Very, very similar to Hebrew. So that lets you know that it's very similar. So that means when they confounded the languages, they just twisted it up a little bit to cause some confusion, but it was still generally the same. So again, we want to get back to our culture, and the language that we see, the fact that we got to go in a Strong's and do all that, because the language of Greek and English is a Babylonish language, is confusion. The word can mean 50 different things that doesn't make any sense. You can't use, with Hebrew, every letter in Hebrew had a meaning. Had a definition, every letter. And when you put that letter together, it's like mathematics. And shout out to Hebrew math. Brother was the first person that brought that out, that brought that out and allowed me to see that. He's got a book that exposes that and shows that. Aleph plus Bat. Aleph, head, strength, source. Bat, inside, house. The head of the house. The strength, inside. Ancestor, Aleph, of the house. All that comes together. It equals. There's no confusion. A plus B equals the definition of op. No confusion. If we can learn to get back to that, we'd be able to just know the definition of each letter and sound out a 15 letter word and figure out what it means. And then now it's even further. When you take one word and put it behind another word, it proves what that meaning is as well. Then you can go the opposite and take the letters going backwards, and it's going to give you another opposite meaning. So there wasn't no confusion in Hebrew. So does that mean that you can't speak in English? Absolutely not. You got to use whatever platform you have to learn this word, but seek to get back to one, back to akkad, back to unity, where there's no confusion. So this is why we use the Hebrew words often, why we say Wayakra instead of Leviticus. But we use both because, again, if you're going to speak in Hebrew, you speak in tongues, which would be speaking in tongues as a language, then you need an interpreter. Or else there's no glory. If nobody get no edification, there's no glory. So if you're not understanding in Hebrew, then you're going to have to read in English and learn Hebrew till you understand in Hebrew. Or else you're not going to get any understanding.
Her question.
Go ahead, Elder.
Yeah, just a reference point. In Genesis, we go in chapter 11, and it says, in the whole earth was one language.
Right.
And one speech.
Mm-hmm.
And just to drop down, the 7, it says, go let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another. Speech dealing with Babel there. But, if you're going to, look at it, it tells you that one language for the first 1,757 years of mankind, Hebrew was the only language spoken deduced as a language of heaven. And they talk about that in Isaiah 19, 18. Because Yahweh did speak to Adam, in the same language. So why would he speak to him in any other tongue except the holy language when he made him? And he wasn't other language at the time, so he spoke to him in the holy tongue at that time. So they also get into the Hebrew tongue in Acts, 26:14. So we can, look at that and say, well, information given here in his book is telling you that in the beginning they spoke Hebrew in heaven. So why wouldn't they speak it to the first man Hebrew? Why? That's a confusion when they already stated 7 verses down in 11 that men spoke only one language, yet what they wanted to do, the intent of their heart was to come against me, so let's define their language to stop them right there. They couldn't plan nothing, they couldn't do anything, they got to break apart, but they couldn't understand each other, cause confusion. So it made perfect sense to me. I'm pretty sure many other areas of scripture may strengthen this. It's just, we're not going over there right now. I just want to bring that point up.
All praises. Absolutely. It strengthened the point. And Brother Poliyahu just posted a tool, and I pinned the comment so everybody can see the comment to help you with your understanding of Hebrew. I'm doing the same thing. We all trying to learn Hebrew because it's not that it makes us holy because we understand Hebrew, because they all spoke Hebrew in the land. They knew the name, what no confusion of the name, but they did the same things we're doing now. So that means that's not the spirit we're dealing with. That's a different spirit. We're dealing with the spirit of disobedience and lack of love for the Most High, which comes in every language. But if you're trying to learn how to love the Most High, then you got to learn his language. His language is righteousness, is his language. But when his language is given in a tongue, it was Hebrew. So that's why we want to learn that. And we got to start with, you can start modern and move backwards. I mean, because, again, you can't just start in ancient Hebrew because there's no way to understand that. You got to start somewhere and move backwards. So definitely, sis, we definitely recommend that you try to learn Hebrew. And you can start with basic stuff. We learn Hebrew every time here. When we see us talk, we saying Elohim or Elohim. That means, lack of a better word, gods or mighty ones. And then you see us use Adonai. You see us use all the Hebrew words, Koheleth, Ecclesiastes, Wayakra, Bamidbar, Bereshit. We use all these, and then we tell you the English so that you'll get accustomed to hearing that, because that's how we learned. All right, so now we're going to Leviticus chapter 10, Wayakra chapter 10, and we're just going to see where Yah is plainly telling his priests what they need to do with their heads. Go ahead.
And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took either of them his censer and put fire therein, and put incense thereon, and offered strange fire before Yahweh, which he commanded them not. And there went out fire from Yahweh and devoured them, and they died before Yahweh.
This is when you think that you can just approach Yahweh any kind of way. Well, I'm Israel too, so I can do it. Did Yahweh call you for that? Furthermore, are you checking the state of your heart before you go before the Most High? It's not that you can't go before the Most High flawed, because Dawid did it all the time. He said, look, man, create me a new heart. But you better be the, hey, Yah, you know I ain't worthy to come before you. You know I got problems and issues. Clean me up so I can be closer to you. So I'm not wasting your time having you think that I'm so holy I can just come talk to you face to face. Nah. So these brothers didn't clean themselves. They brought strange fire because they were dealing with other spirits. They were dealing with other spirits and they weren't following the instruction of the Most High. And the Most High said, yeah, bring them to me. Yeah, you want to do the priesthood? You want to do the priesthood? And furthermore, some of y'all ain't even in the priestly tribe, but you want to come up here and you want to do the job before I train my servants to do the job? Come on. And it'll be the same thing with these other nations. Oh, you want to approach on the Yahweh and come here and take on these holy things? Come on. Go ahead and deal with the same curses they're dealing with since you want to jump in there.
Excuse me, bro.
Go ahead, Op.
Yeah, I just want to add, on the other hand, if you had good intentions to do something right, back in the day, you still got smashed. You know what I mean? Like that brother who tried to save the ark from falling. Wasn't his job to do that? You know, he distinctly, he had in charge to carry that off, maintain that off, Levi priest. And I don't even remember the name of the guy, but if they did name him, but he started on falling. He started with falling, so he went to go with good intentions to stop the ark from falling, and he got killed by touching that ark because he was not charged to touch that ark. You know, and so people understand we all have a place, and we have to learn our place. You know, so he was his job without to touch it, and yet he died. He
Right.
was good intentions. These brothers here didn't do their job right, and he was supposed to be charged to do his job. He didn't do his job right. He got killed. So it's like they say, Yahweh don't have respect at first. He wants you to obey, handle your business. Now you said just now we have to look at what we do, think about what we do. Is it right for me to do this? Is it weird to say everything you think to come out of your mouth? You understand? So everything we think about, we shouldn't do. We should think about it further to find out if we should do this thing. If it's the right thing to do. So it really makes you ponder the thought on your status, on your place before Yahweh.
Right. Exactly. And at the end, you could have all the good intentions in the world, but at the end of the day, you try to touch Yahweh, you changed it, and you're going to get dealt with. And he's got to make a lesson for everybody. That's like a sacrifice. So other people realize you better make sure you check yourself before you approach the Most High. You should have some reverence for him and learn how to deal with things and respect the order that all these people that are getting dealt with all the time, having to be in front of the Most High and are learning through all their chastening how to approach him. You better learn from those people. Don't think that you can just go walk up any kind of way and approach the Most High like it's all good. This ain't your neighbor's God. This is the same one that said, fear the severity and goodness of the Most High. Can't just skip the severity. And shalom, shout out to the Chambers family in Augusta. Good to see y'all.
Verse 3. Then Moshe said unto Aaron, this is it that Yahweh spoke, saying, I will be sanctified in them that come near me, and before all the people I will be glorified. And Aaron held his peace. And Moshe called Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Uzziel, the uncle of Aaron, and said unto them, come near, carry your brethren from before the sanctuary out of the camp. So they went near and carried them in their coats out of the camp, as Moshe had said.
Bury his own people. And he said, hey, you got something to say, Aaron? You got a comment? Anything? Bueller? Anything? Nah. Go ahead. Verse
And
6.
Moshe said unto Aaron and unto Eleazar and unto Ithamar his sons, uncover not your heads, neither rend your clothes, lest you die, and lest wrath come upon all the people. But let your brethren, the whole house of Yasharal, bewail the burning which Yahweh has kindled. And you shall not go out from the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, lest you die. For the anointing oil of Yahweh is upon you. And they did according to the word of Moshe.
All right, so don't uncover your heads. Do not uncover your heads. And this is just one situation where it talks about not uncovering your head. You go all through Leviticus and Deuteronomy. It's always telling you about the priest, how he's supposed to not uncover his head when he's doing the service of the Most High, when he's doing his job. And he didn't want them to uncover their heads because they were mourning. Nah, you do the job. You sanctify Yahweh. Your brother didn't want to sanctify Yahweh. You sanctify him. You do the job over your emotion that you're dealing with right now. Especially you, Aaron. Anything you got to say, he ain't got nothing to say. Continue reading a little bit more.
You know, the interesting part that I believe stuck out to me in this is the fact that the way the temple is run is like clockwork. Mm-hmm. Day and night you have the wood burning. There's always some scent or incense going up onto Yah. Mm-hmm. And Yah definitely wants our obedience. But as far as because the temple is basically his sin absolvement system.
Right.
And just like the system we use, computers or whatever, if you type A, you're expecting A to show up on the screen.
Right.
If you type B, you're expecting B to show up on the screen. You don't type B and then the F come up.
Right.
Or you don't put shift to make a capital B and then it's lowercase.
Right.
Understand? So the temple is pretty much run the same way. Don't come before Yah expecting him to do all these great things before you and you're bringing forth a crippled lamb, or one of the priests are not whole and didn't make sure that he was clean before he approached. Like, the thing is that we want to treat it like we treat everything else. Like right now, the way we live is mercy.
Right.
Because we kind of get up whatever time we want. You know, we make it to whatever place we want. We want to go at whatever time we want. We transgress the commandments in any sort of way every once in a while. But there's going to come a point where Yah's going to require wholeness of obedience from us.
Right.
And these are one of the examples. Like, listen, I need your the end goal of this whole thing of creating a human being, not necessarily to make a robot.
Right.
But a discerning, understanding servant of mine, service, worship, understanding of the Most High, extensions of his body. If I want to reach for this cup and my arm goes the wrong way, I'm like, what's something wrong with my hand?
Right.
I'm supposed to reach to the cup and then my foot starts curling instead of my hand. You know that there's a disruption in the body. There's no wholeness in it.
It's a sickness.
It's a sickness, exactly.
Right.
So we should be seeing to come toward Yah at some point. If not right now, he's pretty much giving us time to get our obedience in check. Understand where we're lacking.
He's giving us mercy.
Just like the Proverbs verse, check your tools in the field. Use your tool in the field, test it, and then you bring it into your house. And right now we're in the outer court, so to speak, and look at it as you're being judged. All your deeds are being weighed. Are you going to be a good enough steward for Yah to bring you into his temple? And when we look at our deeds, we'll be like, man, my mentality is all over the place. 1 minute I want to be obedient, next minute I'm not. Right. 1 minute I'm doing the things Yah says, next minute I'm not. 1 minute I'm like, oh, thank you, Yah. Next minute I'm like, man, I don't really feel like I'm cut out for this servant stuff. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And these are all the type of things that we need to start working within ourselves. These scriptures are just to give us an eye into the things that Yah is looking at.
Exactly. It's a framework.
Indeed.
Right.
It's interesting you just brought it up, because I was just kind of along the question I wanted to ask, because one saying I've come across recently that's been kind of reverberating with me is the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking about that in the context of Yah and what he expects of us, and how do you remain in that kind of sober mindset, and remain, I guess, diligent in spirit, because it seems like as I've witnessed in my own walk so far, and even when you read the scripture, you see that once we'll start to experience the good of Yah, and then we'll trail off. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen that in myself as well. So it's like, how do you not take that for granted and look at things in a sober fashion? You know, and like I said, stay diligent in the spirit. You know.
What was that? What are you doing? Small things, you doing all things.
Well, you do
Basically,
one thing, you do all things.
What you doing? One thing you do. I mean, that's something that I stress to my Isha all the time, without being overbearing with it, because nobody likes every little thing they do to be hyper scrutinized. You see what I'm saying? So I try to make. Is that is that okay? Like
That's something I tell you too.
So we hold each other accountable, because I pretty much it's something. Before I met her, it was something I was holding myself accountable to. Like, if I realized I was falling into a bad habit of being neglectful or something, I'm like, look, if I do it in this, I'm gonna do it in greater. And it's a scripture about that. Whatsoever, who that is faithful in small things, shall be faithful in great things as well. And I realized y'all is looking at those little things that we do, knowing that all is gonna, because when you get money, if you're an angry person, you get money, you're gonna be wrathful at everybody. If you're a covetous person, you get money, you're still gonna remain. All the money does is accentuate whatever character you already have. If you were cowardly before you got money, when you get money, you're gonna be afraid everyone's gonna rob you. You're gonna drive yourself absolutely nuts and anxious. So to get back to what you were saying about maintaining that, what Yah does is that, because what happened in this script a little bit before Abinadab and Abihu and Nadab died, was Yah gave his tabernacle council, his tabernacle employees instruction on how to do the sacrifices right. So they just executed their first instruction, so to speak. Like, Yah said, do this, do that, sprinkle the blood in the east 7 times, and they did it, and then his glory fell down. It says fire came down, and it was like a confirmation, like, it's like when you enter a cheat code and consume everything on the altar. It's like when you enter in a cheat code correctly, it's like bling. So like they got the confirmation that we did it right. Look, we see the smoke of Yahweh. This is a sign unto all of us that we did it correctly. And immediately after, the sons came and they were hasty with the offering, and they offered it out of order. They ended up doing strange fire and were killed for it. So what happens is, when you're doing something correct, Yah does a thing where he rewards you for it and grants you the peace that you've been robbed of. So once that peace comes, you're like, you know what, this things are working out properly because I'm obeying. And there's nothing that hurts us more in life than chastisement, when we get chastised for doing something wrong. So when we realize that the chastisement has ceased, we're cool with that. Like, look, I'm fine. I don't need $1 million. I'm just cool with the fact that my arm is about to be chopped off right now, or I'm not on the verge of losing all my friends or all my family for this thing. So for me, what's been motivation for me is that once Yah started giving me little peaks of peace, and then allowed that peace to endure, so that I could differentiate what I was experiencing from just the year before or 4 or 5 years before. I could see that, when I started obeying Yah, my lifestyle, the results of my life were different. And that's been a motivating factor for me to continue on that path, because I don't have any business in whatever was going on before. I don't have any business being defeated and not having the joy of Yah in my life, and not having his favor, to know that if I go to fulfill a task, I know exactly what to look for to know whether he wants me to continue or whether I need to just stop. You know what I'm saying? And just having clarity of discernment and clarity of vision is just a reward in itself. So that's been enough motivation for me. What about you?
Well, I would just say, if you view things that way, this is little, it's not important, I ain't got to do it. How you gonna view the law? Keep the Sabbath day, but it ain't gonna hurt if I go purchase something today. I ain't gonna do it every day. So little by little, that's your mind frame. Your mind frame isn't try to reach perfection. What we are taught is, he said, be you unspotted because I'm unspotted. Be you perfect because I'm perfect. Be you holy because I'm holy. So for us to be that way means, y'all didn't forget to do some kind of righteousness, like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, you should live. Nah, he didn't forget. It was perfect. So if we're representation of him, we should be trying to reach perfection, knowing that we're not going to be perfect. We have to be perfected. But at least the effort is there. Look at my son. He wants to be perfect, so he's trying for perfection. And, this year, especially we've been focusing a lot on hitting the mark.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Keeping the law, that's the basic level. But then hitting the mark of perfection is the next level. And you can stay at that level, say, I kept the law. I kept the law, I'm lawful. But that's your guide. That's a law, that's a light, that's a lamp. That's to guide you. The goal is to take that so you can try to reach the perfection. So we got to get past that first level. This is the law, and say, okay, well, this is the law. You kept the law, but what's perfection? How do you live perfectly? And shoot for that. And then now you're exposing all this other things that ain't necessarily a transgression, but you ain't hit the mark. So when you're looking at things from that perspective, it puts you in a mind frame of to constantly look for things, just like removing the leaven from your house. Every year you're finding new things and new ways to remove the leaven from within. And all this is by the process of saying, I can't have nothing in here. I got to be perfect. So that's all I could add to that.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of questions, so we're gonna try to get to as much as we can. If we missed anything, by all means, send us an email or inbox us, and we'll get to it.
The second one that I think we can quickly address Kareen's, because the second one she asked about the language, and she asked on how do we focus on living, how can we focus on the Most High living in a corrupt world, and then she's curious about our names. How do we know the correct names that Yah given us? So now she would have to clarify, do you mean like names that were named like Jim or Eric, or names as in what we see in the scripture? So Kareen, if you could clarify that part. And if does anyone in the audience want to answer on how to focus on the Most High while living in a corrupt world?
Something that I've been doing. When I came into this walk in 2016, I remember crying to you and saying I hated the debate and stuff that was going on, and the contention that I always saw online, people dragging you two different ways, and I felt like it was church all over again. So what I did personally was I took a break from seeing all of that, and that break lasted for like a year. I think I'm just now coming back on Facebook like a week ago. But I purposely took that time off so that I could, focus a lot more on the word, focus a lot more on strengthening what I already know, making sure that I'm trying to live a perfect life before I go out and try to preach or point fingers at anybody else. And that definitely took some time. So my advice, based on what worked for me, would be, take some time to yourself to listen to the voice of the Most High, pray a lot. A more practical application, I pray like every 3 hours. That's something that I recently started. So 6 a.m., 9, 12, 3, 6, just so that I'm building a relationship with the Most High. And I feel like that has helped a lot too. So just take some time she could take some time to herself so that she's stronger in the word and stronger in discerning spirits and knowing when she's operating according to the Most High and when she's not operating according to the Most High, making sure that she listens to a head if she has a head. And just, the scripture is specific for a reason. So once you step out of line, you're gonna know. You gonna feel it. That's it. You're gonna know. So just strengthening herself for launching out.
Yeah, I agree. I think the routine helps us to stay disciplined, and it changes up our daily habits. So you can break a habit, they say, with routine. So, but I think for me, once I started to learn the law and learn the scripture and understand what it is that he expects of me, in terms of how I should live my life, the foundation. So then I started looking at the same people, places, and things that's in this world with the spiritual eye. So now I want to be, I don't want to move too fast in my decision making. I want to make sure now I'm applying what I'm learning to everyday situations, because we can't run from the world. We are going to interact with people. We're going to go to these different places and things. Now, also, you should be mindful to just be, don't make it hard. Pluck yourself out of stuff that you know that you don't need to be around. So shut down the clubbing, shut down anything that you feel like might, distract you or lead you to be your old self, because you're trying to live a new life. You're trying to start a new routine. So you take what you learn and you apply it. And you might not know the Bible in 1 year or 1 day, but you can take the little things that you learn along the way, apply it. You'll, over time you'll see the change, and you'll be able to make better decisions quicker. So then you'll start to, like, for example, taking pork and things out of your diet. So if we practice that and we baby stepped into it, now it's a no-brainer for me. I don't even think about it. It's nothing. So you're going to ultimately, you'll be able to make stronger decisions in this already established world. It's not getting any better. So it's up to you to protect yourself. And the shield is the word. The shield is your family. The shield is the nation. The shield is finding your new family and friends that's going to coincide with your new life. You can't always hang around the same old negative people or things and expect for you to stay in the spirit. So you got to look at all those things that, again, take you out the spirit, that will distract you, and eliminate that, because you got to save your spirit for the things that they're going to pop up, the test, the things that you can't, hide away from, because you still have to work, you still have to interact with family members, you still love them, people that may not believe the way that you do. So you can't just hide yourself, but you can hide yourself as much as possible. But I think overall, just applying everything you learn and looking at the world now with a spiritual eye. So.
Right. I think both the sisters gave some great examples. One thing that I saw both of y'all say is the sanctification. You definitely have to sanctify yourself, which means you got to remove yourself from certain situations. But then, like with Sister Defar is also saying, you can't hide from the world. You're in the world for a reason. You have to shine your light. You don't take your light and put it under a table. And part of hiding from the world is, once we get into the word, where we're still kind of ashamed of being set apart. We don't want to be around people acting set apart. So we try to blend in. So that's part of it, not being double-minded, making your decision which way you're going to go. And how to understand the voice of the Most High. You got people in the Christian church right now saying, God spoke to me. I know him. How you know? Because I felt it in my heart. I know. No, learn how the Father speaks. A father knows how to communicate with you. He knows how to get your attention. But so does the adversary, the devil. He knows how to get your attention by saying, hey, I know you want this material thing. I know you want this material person. I know you want this. I know you want that. Learn how the Most High communicates. He's going to communicate with you individually in your own way. That's your own privacy. No woman can determine how that happens. But he's going to communicate with us all in a very similar manner. Keep these commandments. If you do, you will receive a blessing. If you don't, you will get a curse. So how do you know the difference between a blessing and a curse? Well, are you keeping the commandment? Keep the commandment. So you can, when you receive something, you don't have to be worried about, is this a curse? When I receive it, is it going to cause me to do something against the commandments? Then I don't know if this is from Yah. And when I receive something, is it going to give glory to the Most High? I think this is of Yah. And it talks about the blessings from above. They don't come with all that problems and stuff. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. So you definitely want to sanctify yourself. And I think that was something, some very good counsel that Sister Simkatia gave about that, of, remove yourself. If you're fighting with these spirits already, and then now you're seeing all this arguing, and we come from a culture that's back and forth, dozens arguing, fighting, this, that, whatever. And it's everywhere. It's not just in America. Every other country, you're dealing with the same thing. You can't put yourself in that same thing when you're not trained and you're not prepared for that. Pull yourself away from that so you can learn some basic things. And if you're a wife, you can learn from your husband. He can teach you the things that he's gone through. And then if you're a husband, you can learn from your wife. You're only dealing with one spirit or two spirits here, and protect yourself and build up a shield. and build up a foundation, especially when you're new. You don't need to be out there trying to argue with people because you're new. I know it because I did it. I went out there and I said I learned something new and went out there like, who won a sword fight? And got chopped up and came in the house bleeding and said, you know what, let me just turn the page. I'm on page 2. Let me at least get to page 3. So we got to learn how to slow down. We want to share what you know. If somebody disagrees, leave it alone. You know you're new. You know you haven't put in that work. Study for yourself and say, hey, brother, this is where I got it from. Let me examine what you're saying. But the pride, again, some content talk about that church thing. Oh, my church, but my pastor, my teacher, my holy father. Oh, really? Yahweh told you that? Oh, okay. Right. All that. No, get away from that. Understand that we are all together. Nobody's above anybody. The Most High is the head through Yahshua. Learn, take things little at a time. Understand what you're dealing with. If you're dealing with somebody that's wicked, don't expect righteousness from them. So if you can talk to a snake all you want. You can talk to him for 3 hours. He gonna look at you, and when he done, he gonna slither his behind away. You ain't gonna change that. So understand what system that you're dealing with is wicked. Understand that you're a product of that system. So you're gonna have that snake in you, that spine in you. Is the adversary in you. The adversary don't mean you got horns. That's adverse. Adverse to this word. That is in you because you were trained that way. So you got to first seek self and say, what is all these things that are adverse to the word within me that I need to work out? But if we take that approach that, I've just got, immersed, I'm good. I washed away that. You're going to find yourself in a deep, deep problem. Jonathan, what would you like to add to that?
Well, I would like to read some of the admonishments that came. Paliyahu said, get your daily bread. Spend time daily in your word. 6 days you shall labor also refers to working out our salvation. Joshua chapter 1, 8-9. This way our judgment increases along the way. And that 8 and 9 says, the book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate therein day and night. So this means, because sometimes people are like, oh, what can I do to stay righteous in such a wicked time? It's right there. You can't be spiritually lazy. You have to stay vigilant and dedicated to your own upliftment. Meditate therein day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written therein, for then you shall make your way prosperous. Man, this is so simple.
Right. The weighty, and these put hashtag, the weightier matters of the law. And the weightier matters of the law, Yahshua gave us that. Judgment, mercy, and faith. Those you should have done first and not left the other undone. So he didn't say don't do the other things. He said focus on those things because all those things is what the law is teaching you. But don't leave the others undone.
That you may observe to do according to all that is written therein, for then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall have good success. Have not I commanded you, be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be you dismayed, for Yahweh your Elohim is with you wheresoever you go. So that was the scripture that he posted, and it says, this way our judgment increases along the way. Our compassion for those not aware will increase also as we mature. This is what exhibits our belief. Hashtag weightier matters of the law. And Kareem Berry says, well, our government give our parents these names when we came on earth, but been heavy on my heart. That's not the name Yahweh given to us. Thanks to y'all great answers. And I believe Sister Tafara answered and said, my husband found my name in the scripture based on the women in the Bible. And if their story or personality suits my spirit in a way, that's one way, at least for me. Right. So about the names.
And Paliyahu, all praises. The sisters say you definitely on point tonight. I'll just let you know, Paliyahu always on point. I ain't ever called him off point.
See?
You know what I'm saying? He like a sword.
That's one of them hitters. I'm talking about like, he'll defend your house for you, man. You need that. Right, you need brothers like that.
And brother Paliyahu been one of the brothers that I've known for years in this word, and we've disagreed on a lot of things. But what we've always done is agreed that we both serve the Most High and that we're going to seek the best that we can find, and every man seeks his own salvation with fear and trembling. I always make sure I say that to people, that we don't always agree. Even in Israelite gathering, we don't always agree. But we all agree that we going to serve the Most High and we going to repent if we are shown that what we are doing is unlawful and improper. We're going to repent. And when you live that way with people, then you can start to trust people, and you can, those arguments and transgressions and things don't be so severe, because you understand this brother just not seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm not seeing what he's seeing, and we know that that's going to happen. So praise y'all for the brothers that added. He commented about the comment flew through so quick. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah, it says, wait and let a name be revealed to you. Learn yourself. Names mean character, authority, fame, and reputation. This cannot be rushed, for it is a process. I waited years before my name came to me.
Right. Amen. And, when it comes to names, some of them, will be given to you. Some elders will give a name, to people that have that kind of gift to kind of analyze you and do that. Also, you have, other situations where, you already named that name before you were even in the word, and you realizing the meaning of your name and understanding, man, the Most High knew me from the womb. Then you'll have a situation like mine was very weird. My situation, I found out, I picked the name out before I was even in the word as my alias, because it kind of went with my name, and found out later it was a Hebrew name. Then found out later it was a name given to a prophet, who the story of that prophet wasn't given in the Bible, but when you went in Flavius Josephus, he gave the name of that prophet. And when I tried to double back and said, I read that in the Bible, it was located on the 11th book, which is my birth month, on the 13th chapter, and the 13th verse, which was 1 Kings chapter 13. It gave the same story of the one that was on me. Then it was even creepier. The prophet got ate up by a lion because he didn't follow the instructions of the Most High. And then I'm like, man, I got a lion tatted on my arm. So it's like the Most High chose me and my name before I even knew it. So a name is not something that, if you let me pick it, I'd have picked, call me, the most fabulous name that, it rhymed or something, but you don't want to take it that way, because it means character, your appellation. Like Brother Paliyahu was saying, your appellation is not just what you're called. It also encompasses your character. So while we going in there just looking for a name because it's Hebrew and saying, hey, look, Mara, Hebrew name, I like it. But then your name mean bitter. Check your name. Or look, this a name, Chilion. I like it because I'm chill. Your name means sick, death, and destruction or something. And again, how we know proper names. Jehovah. Really? Jehovah means the H1942. Ruin and destruction. Calamity, mischief. Check these things. So when you're looking at a name, see what the meaning is. And you don't want to take a name that's going to bring a lot of stuff to you, a lot of problems to you, because you're taking on the character of that name. And then, some people, everybody want to be Deborah. And it seems like every Deborah that I meet, again, just from what I come across, is taking a spirit of leadership, like you trying to lead a man. And this woman, she was in that position because she had no choice. She didn't just take that. And the women that stepped up and had to go above a man for a point is because the men weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And if it was either that or the nation, and the Most High had to put his spirit on a woman to do that. So not to say don't take that name, but just, again, be careful what you're taking on. Because if that's not your who you are, your calling, you don't want to take on something prematurely. So that was some very good advice that Paliyahu gave. Take that name serious. It's no longer like how we name our children. Your name Yonatan, her name Chanel, John Shay, John Shay Johnson. That's how we name. But see, when you don't know who you are, you just make up some stuff. Well, guess what? Now that you know who you are, take the time to look through these names and find and pray and meditate and see what comes to you and what's going to stick with you. and make sure that you're taking on the right spirit for the job. And sometimes you got the name based upon your job. Oshea, his name was changed to Yahshua or Yahashua or Yahusha, however you want to pronounce it. Yahweh Shai. It was changed to that after he received the job that he was going to do, because his purpose was changing. Abram's name was changed to Abraham as he was going to move into the land of Ham. So you see a lot of names being changed. Even with Shlomo. Yedidah was his original name, and then Yahweh called him Shlomo, and he took the name Shlomo, or vice versa, was one or the other. So, there's a lot involved in that name. Take your time. It ain't just gonna make you extra Hebrew. The one name you should take right away is Yasharal, Israel, one of those names. That's your last name. That's your family.
Surname. That's
your surname. You definitely should take that, or Ben Yah. Some of them name themselves after Yah. Some of them name themselves after Yaakov, and some will give their hand unto marriage and surname themselves Yasharal. Israel, however. So did we get to all her questions?
Yeah.
All right, so we had another question on fringes. Let's try to get into that. So let's go to Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 15.
Numbers.
Bamidbar, chapter 15. And let's go down to verse 38. But one thing I wanted to read real quick when we were in, what were we in just right now? We were just in
Joshua, or before that?
We were in Leviticus chapter 10, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to read something, but we stopped. I'll read it real quick. You can stay there. We stopped, and it says, not uncover your head. And it says, and Yahweh spake unto Aaron in verse 8, do not drink wine nor strong drink, you nor your sons with you, comma. Don't mean you can't drink that ever. When you go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. So he's giving us the framework of how we're supposed to present ourselves. We didn't say that you couldn't drink wine or strong drink. We had drink offerings. The priest drank. Nothing wrong with that. But when you're approaching the Most High to do your job, you should not be under the influence of intoxicants. If you like to smoke them funny cigarettes, like they like to call it, or you like to drink, you a 211 man or whatever, or you like to drink that fine Hebrew wine, nothing wrong. There's a place and time for that thing. I personally have experienced when I was younger in the word, and I would, I'd partake, and then when I would get behind, and I'm like, I'm good. I know this word. I'm good. And Yah would take things from me. He would take recalling of scripture. He would take the spirit from me, and I could noticeably feel the spirit being taken from me. And then as I came down from my high, I started feeling the spirit came back. And I realized this is why he's saying that. Because you're being influenced by other spirits, and he's taking a spirit. He wants you sanctified. So do not come to your class or your study or approach the Most High under the influence when you're doing his works. Don't do that. There's a time and place for that. He provided when you in a feast day, you having fun, drink, have a good time. But when you getting ready to teach a Bible study, stand behind, present yourself for the Most High 3 times a year, all that, stay away from the strong drink. And I add anything else that's going to intoxicate you. Whether I don't care what it is, if it's going to intoxicate you. There's another reason why he didn't want us to, another great reason to get intoxicated is when you done made love. When you done made love, you intoxicated, you feeling great. He don't want that. He wants you sanctified. Don't do that. Stay away from your wife when you're getting ready to go to the Shabbat. Don't bring that lust and that carnal feeling when you're coming to the Most High. Stay away from that. Stay sanctified when you're about to do the works of the Most High. So we're at Numbers Bamidbar, chapter 11. And
you talking about the fringes?
Yeah, excuse me. Bamidbar, chapter 15. And we're going to go to verse 38. Go over these fringes.
Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders of the borders a riband of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yahweh and do them, and that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go a-whoring.
All right, so he's telling you the commandment of fringes, how to keep fringes. And he's telling you why you're having the fringes. It's so that you remember all the commandments of Yahweh and do them. So what's the weightier matter in fringes? The physical fringe? Or what it represents?
What it represents.
So where do you start?
The mind.
You start remembering the commandments. And while you're remembering the commandments, I remember I'm supposed to have fringes on.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just grab some fringes and throw them on and you ain't got a single thought about the law. That's outwardly. So by no means are we telling you don't put fringes on. We telling you start with the weightier matters, like Brother Poliyahu brought us. Start with remembering the commandment, not just the fringes, all of the commandments. And in that process, you're going to seek to get fringed up because you're going to want to keep these commandments on your mind. So there's a lot of words in here. So let's break down these words. So Numbers 15 and 38. All right, so let's look at these definitions so you get a better understanding of fringes. Now, keep in mind, we are all translating. So we might see these things a little bit different. But at the end of the day, if you're seeking to try to follow this, to put fringes on, whether you put a tassel or however you do it, or you just put them you put the gadals on the four corners, or you don't, whatever you do, seek to try to follow these instructions to the best of your ability. If you find out you're proving that you're doing it wrong, then just repent. So it says, bid them that they make them fringes. So what's the strong for fringes?
Seat. That is
H67.
H6734.
All right. Seat. T-S-I-Y-T-S-I-T-H. Seat. And that's feminine of H6731. A floral or wing-like projection. That is a forelock of hair, a tassel fringe lock. Now, when they see tassel, that throw them off. They thinking, as soon as they see tassel, oh, you got to have a tassel on. Well, does a tassel look like a wing to you? A floral or wing-like projection. When you look at flowers, they're like this. They're arrayed, identical, one over the other. When you look at a wing, it's the same thing, feathers over each other. A tassel don't look like that. I've never seen a tassel fly anywhere. Somebody put this in here to give you that understanding. Now, again, if you put a tassel on as your fringes, that's the best you understand. Hey, look, you could be right, but at least you tried something. So, again, a wing-like projection. If you want to know what that looks like, look at what a wing looks like. You want to know what that seat look like the floral arrangement looks like. Staggered over the other. And then also look at how the ancients wore their fringes. All right. In the borders, so the next word is borders, is kanaf. Kanaf, H3671. Read that definition out. 3671.
3671. And that is an edge or extremity, specifically of a bird or army, a wing, of a garment or bed clothing, a flap of the earth, a quarter of a building, a pinnacle, a bird, border, corner, and feather, flying with one another, overspreading, quarter, skirt, sort, uttermost part, winged.
All right, so when you see borders here, they mention also bed clothing or garment or bed clothing. And you have some people that physically take that as you got to put fringes on your bed. Stop it, man. Stop it. But anyway, so your kanaf, this is the edge or extremity. So your kanaf is going to have your fringes in inside of it, because this is the outermost portion of your garment. That's the outer border. That's the outer wing. And within that, you're supposed to make you fringes in that. So your fringes are supposed to be in your border. When you see that word kanaf, it's also called a skirt often. When Dawid grabbed the skirt of King Saul, he was grabbing the kanaf. You can't grab a kanaf without grabbing the fringes, the fringe that you have fringed in your border. So the border is one thing. The tzitzit is another thing. And then it says a riband. So riband, when we see riband, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear that word riband? Sounds like ribbon, right? Mm-hmm. No. Ribbons are woven. That's different. This is twine, twisted. When you weave something, is in and out, in and out, in and out. That's different than when you're twisting something together. That's a different pattern. So it says a riband. The Hebrew word that was for riband was pathil, which is H6616, spelled P-A-T-H-I-Y-L. And that's from H6617. And you always want to look at the root words too, so you can see where this word is spawning from. So pathal is to twine, that is to struggle, be morally tortuous, show self froward, show self unsavory, wrestle. So this is twisted and twined together. Bound, bracelet, lace, line, ribbon, thread, or wire. So this is the twisting. All right. So it's make them fringes, tzitzit, in the borders, the kanaf, which is the outermost edge of your garments, and that they put upon the fringe of the kanaf. So upon the kanaf, a riband of blue. So riband is again pathil, which is twisting. So it has to be something that's twisted and wound together on there. And then it says blue. And here's another one that's up for debate. When you look at the word for blue, it's tekleth. Tekleth is H8504. And that says probably for H7827, the cerulean muscle, that is the color violet. Violet is not a blue. It's a bluish color. It's between blue and purple. So it's not a royal blue. It is a violet. So if you don't know what color violet is, look it up. You'll see violet. Violet is a purplish color. It's purplish blue. It's like a bluish purple. So he's telling you not necessarily blue, not necessarily purple, but an in-between color. That's the only color requirement on fringes. The only color requirement on fringes is the color of your pathil, the color of your twisting, your twining. That is what needs to be tekleth. Now, that's up for debate of what that's talking about. Some people believe that with the people that are just wearing on the four corners, the tassels hanging down, they believe that's what that was talking about, pathil. The way I understand it and the way that I'm able to precept it is that is the stitching that goes over your border. That is supposed to be purple. So that's up for debate. But ultimately, pathil is different than tzitzit. Those are two different words used. Some people believe they're similar, some people don't. But either way, the thought process of the fact that you're trying to put these on and you're trying to do as close to the law as possible is an exercise in itself. Because if at a later date you find that, okay, this is different, and here's the proof, here's the pictures of what people wore. You notice that you can see pictures of ancient Israelites of how their fringes looked. You can see that, and that's an example. They had 4 things hanging on the corner. So they had 4 of them. So we know they had 4 things, and then we also saw the wing-like projections. So you see different ways, and you saw different times they did different things. And the fact that we were in captivity at different times is why it's up for debate, because we did things differently. When you're in captivity, you can only use what you have. So it's one thing, that's another. So that's the only color requirement. riband of blue. Your seat can be any color. Your wing-like projections can be any color. You can make it match your clothes. It doesn't matter. It didn't say the seat had to be teklef. It said your pathil had to be teklef. Now, you can't just use Numbers 15 and get all the instructions on fringes. You got to go to Deuteronomy, Devarim chapter 22 to get the full instruction. And even in the fact that he requires you to go to 2 different places to get 2 witnesses to completely understand how you're supposed to wear your fringes, it's showing you how the Most High is training you with your commandments. You should seek 2 different witnesses with the commandments. He's never going to say the commandment is do this and only say it one place. He's going to give you witnesses. Then he's going to get you prophets to come and confirm. Devarim chapter 22, Deuteronomy chapter 22, and let's go to verse 12, and let's read that again.
You shall make you fringes upon the 4 quarters of your vesture, wherewith you cover yourselves.
So he's letting you know you shall make you fringes. But again, this fringes is not seat. It's a different word they're using now. So when you see fringes, see when people see this, they think it's the same thing because it's the same Hebrew word. I mean, it's the same English word, but it's a different Hebrew word with a different derivative. So it's letting you know it's not even the same root word as pathil or tsitsi. It's a different root word. So you should make you fringes, the Hebrew word. What's the Hebrew word?
Gadil.
Go ahead and read that.
That's H 1434.
Let's switch phones. You know, this one's going to die.
Twisted threads or tassels.
Okay. So
H.
it's saying twisted. All right.
H 1434. Let me go for the extended version. 1434. Should be a few more pages. 1434.
1431 is the root word.
Okay. All right. 1434 from Gadil. From Gadal, in the sense of twisting, thread, i.e. tassel or festoon, fringe, wreath. And then 1431, Gadal, primitive root, probably to twist compared to Gadil. Causes it to make large in various senses in bodies, mind, estate, or honor. Also in pride. Advance, boast, bring up, exceed, excellent, come, do, give, make, wax, great, make estate, to grow up, increase, lift up, magnify, to be much by, set, nourish, pass, promote, proudly, tower.
All right, so you see this is very similar to pathil, which is also a twisting. It's very similar. But now when you get to seat, it's talking about wing-like projections. Wings don't, there's not an animal whose wing twists and is twined together. It's overlapped one over the other with a wing. Flowers are the same way. Flowers don't twist in turn. But what a vine does, a vine twists in turns, but the flowers don't do that. So that's different. It's showing you there's a difference. So now, again, this is the best of my understanding to the scriptures. Everybody got to work out their own salvation with fear and trembling. If anybody sees this different, this is an opportunity to speak and to produce your cause. But again, I'm just looking at what is being said, looking at the root words, and I can see certain things are similar. And again, it's talking about the 4 quarters. The 4 quarters of flaps, the kanaf, the 4 edges of your extremities of your garment. This is where you're supposed to put the pathil or gadal. Pathil has the twisting. And then now you have gadal. So it's very similar. So you have a twisting and a pathil, which means whatever you're doing is going to be twining and twisting. And then when it comes to your gadals that are supposed to be on the 4 corners, there's also another twisting. So again, the fringe, the seat is on the kanaf, and then you have your gadils or gadals that are on your 4 quarters. And it's supposed to be fixed onto your kanaf with your pathil, with another twisting that's supposed to fix inside your borders. So there's different ways. Yonatan, show them your fringes.
All right. So
You can see it.
here is a merger of the two, where it's a merger of the fringe, which is the wing light projection.
The seat.
Yeah, basically the seats are the wing light projections, and then pretty much the apparent differences between the numbers command and the Deuteronomy command is that the numbers command doesn't give a number. It doesn't say anything about 4.
Right.
And then the Deuteronomy command says nothing about color. It doesn't say anything about blue.
Right.
So it's merging the two. We'll get the wing light projections. What's not here is the blue border, but it's pretty much merged with the gadil and the color upon the seat.
Which is a twine, a twisting that has to be blue. So it depending on how you see it, you're still seeing, at least you're seeing the tekleth.
Indeed.
Which is a violet. This is if you can see it, it's a violet blue. It's not a true blue color. So you have that. So you have that twisting and that twining. So it's safe to say that it's likely correct. And you can do a step further and put the pathil across to be safe. But either way, your mind is towards keeping that commandment in your entire vesture. Right? So then now another version is this. This is probably one of the more popular versions, where you have the wing-like projections here, which is your seat. And then you have your pathil, which would be the twining, the twisting here. I chose to put a ribbon, which is just for visual effect. But here you have in the stitches, you have your twisting, your twining. And then you have your gadils here, which is your twisting on your 4 corners. So these are different ways. This would be more of a generic version of fringes. With Jonathan's fringes, his fringes are made inside the border. This would be your border, the outmost part. All you did was undo it, flat down. So this would be how you would do it. You would make it inside. You're supposed to make you in your border. So you would make it. A commercial version would be to sew it on. But this is not necessarily making it in your border. So the only thing that I would add to it, like you said, would be to put the blue across or the tekleth across. But either way, you're showing that you're keeping your mind on keeping the fringes by trying to hit all the check marks to the best of your ability. So this is, and it's also symbolic of the fact that, I may not know all of it, but I'm going to approach you with the best that I have. I'm going to try to put everything I have to the best that I have to get that.
There was also a word I was looking for, which goes along with gadil, because the root word of it, gadal, that even GD, the good aspect means a heap, and there's also an altar.
Gad, right.
There's also an altar that Yaakov made, and he named it something, and then the name of it was pretty much like heap. So it's almost going in line with that whole heaping together the gadil, the 4 corners being that heap that's left, or the festoon, going in line with the festoon. So the altar that he built was a heap of stones.
Right. And again, fringes aren't something to argue with. If you see your brother is trying to keep the commandments to the best of his ability, if you see something different, you don't. Oh, why you do? Because you don't know 100%. That's like trying to argue with somebody how to pronounce Yad-Hey Wah-Hey. You can say, I think it's this because this is the best of my understanding and this is why I believe it's that. And you should be humble enough to say, okay, if he sees it, doesn't see it. But you see that he's trying. He's not out there saying, the Lord and this, that. He's saying, no, I'm trying to use the Hebrew name. Fringes is the same thing. Do your best to try to meet these requirements to the best of your study, because that's what you're going to be judged on, not based on what somebody else thinks.
And the scripture looks like I went ahead and found it. Is it Gilead? There it is. Genesis 31:48, and it says, and this is when Yaakov left Laban's house, and then when he finally caught up to him. He says, verse 46, it says, and Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones, and they took stones and made a heap. And they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Yegar Sahudatha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And that word Gilead is H1567. Gilead. a witness or heap. The pile of stones heaped up between Jacob and Laban to certify their covenant, located in Mount Gilead.
Where you see, Galid. Okay, so the name of the heap was Galid.
Galid, and it's almost similar to Gadil, starting with the G, ending with the L. So maybe it's an Ibra math connection, so to speak. So Gadil was 1434. And then
Galid is 1567.
1567.
Now, what he's talking about is when you take the definition of Gam and Lam, and you put those meanings together, it has a similar meaning to Gadil, which also ends in a lamed or
starts with Gal,
but starts with a Gam. Right. So you can see how that would draw some common. And what I like also is when it talks about that heap, which is gall, is something rolled, which is rolled. When you twist something, you're kind of rolling. So I can see where there's an inch. And then it says it's a witness between us, between me and you this day. So this is a witness, just like those fringes are supposed to be a witness to yourself and to you and against you. That I'm a witness that I know I'm supposed to keep these commandments and I'm supposed to keep this on my mind day and night. So I see a connection there as well.
Let me see the Hebrew spelling as well to see what the differences are. So Gadil is 1434. And that's Gamil. So the only difference between Go and Gadil is a Dalid, right in the middle.
Right. Which, when you put the way two letters come together or what's in between, it affects the meaning of a word. But again, you have to take the definition of each word to get the word. So when you have similar letters in a word, there's some kind of relationship there because it's using the same meaning. Same
letters. So I don't remember exactly what Gamel meant, but I know that Lamed was like to lead, and Dalit was a door. But right. Yeah, something that we could definitely build on.
Definitely.
Gamo means humble. And Gamo means humble.
All right, so one of the last things we want to cover before we finish today, and we went kind of long today, but all praises, man. We hit 10,000. This is what we do. This is celebrate. This is how we celebrate. We get in the scriptures and we read and we learn and we edify one another. So the last thing we want to talk about is the tribes. We get that question quite frequently, like, how do you know what tribe you are? That's why you'll never see Yonatan say, I'm Yonatan from the tribe of Yehuda. You're not going to see that. Or I'm Yadon, I'm from Benjamin because I'm Jamaican or something like that. Nah, again, all we can do, because we were scattered. For one, it says Judah was dispersed into the four corners of the earth. So that means Judah can't just be in America. Can't just be in Israel. It's got to be to the four corners of the earth. That means we were spread everywhere. But what we can do is we can follow the history of where people went. If you go into 2 Kings chapter 17, you can see the dispersal of the northern kingdom. The dispersal of the northern kingdom. And we're just going to read that real quick. This is going to be something that you can kind of just highlight and go back and read the whole story. If you go into 2 Kings chapter 17, you'll see where the northern tribes, which is the 9 tribes, left. And even Levi left too. Everybody left of the northern tribes. And eventually it was so wicked that even Levi was like, man, listen, hey, I'm sorry I left. These people extra wicked. Wow. They taking people that owe them money and making them priests like me just because they owe me money. Or because I want to marry his family, so I'm going to make his uncle a priest so I can be in there. And they even left. But if you go to 2 Kings chapter 17, and let's go down
23, 24.
Let's go to verse 13. So again, you have to also understand in Kings, a lot of times when they're talking about Israel, you got to see who they're talking about. The nation of Israel or northern Israel. Because he has house of Israel once the houses were split. And then he has the house of Judah, which is the kingdom of Judah, which is Judah, Benjamin, Levi. And then when he's talking about the house of Israel, is talking about northern Israel, the northern tribes, because there was a split. Go ahead, verse 13.
Yet Yahweh testified against Yasharal and against Yehudah by
So
all
you
the
see
prophets.
how he's saying against Israel and against Yehudah, because there's a separation now. There was a house divided, so it's going to fall because there's a separation.
Testified against Yehudah and Israel by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn you from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I commanded your fathers and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks like to the neck of their fathers that did not believe in Yahweh their Elohim. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom Yahweh had charged them that they should not do like them. And they left all the commandments of Yahweh their Elohim and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove and worshipped all the host of heaven and served Baal. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire and used divination and enchantments and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of Yahweh to provoke him to anger. Therefore Yahweh was very angry with Yasharal and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Yehudah only.
All right. So he removed the northern tribes, and it was none left but the tribe of Yehudah only. And when you had Yehudah, you had Benjamin right there. If you go look at the battle of Gibeah, Benjamin was almost wiped out completely. So they had to take, the men or women of Yehudah to mate with Benjamites so that they can build their tribes back up. Because Benjamin was so strong, it took all the tribes to fight them. They were left-handed. Which was different. This was weird. Everybody knows your strong hand is typically your right hand. So they were left-handed and could sling stones with left hand and all that stuff, or ambidextrous at minimum. So he removed the northern tribes. So eventually it was really just Benjamin and Levi. Excuse me, not Benjamin. Yehudah and Benjamin, and Levi had left too. And Levi ended up coming back. So what you had left in the kingdom after the northern tribes left was Benjamin, Levi, and Yehudah. So you see here it says he removed them out of their sight. If you read further down, you'll see more extent of who he put in place. The Assyrians took people from their nations and put them in the land of Israel. And this is how you start to see in this chapter how you have all these other nations that have been in Israel for so long, claiming that they're Israelites, that they're from the land because they went in there. So, and then, if you want to sit on the high horse, say Judah was righteous, you can go to the next verse. And it says right there, what verse is
19.
It? Verse 19. And Yehudah kept not the commandments of Yahweh their Elohim, but walked in the statute of Yasharal, which they made. So again, Yehudah did the same thing. So it wasn't just like Yehudah was just this righteous tribe, a righteous kingdom, and northern tribes were just wicked. We did the same thing. It's just that because of King David, he allowed us to stay a little bit longer. So question is, okay, once 70 AD is when Jerusalem fell and was sacked. And this is where Israel was dispersed. The children of Yasharal that was still there, which was mainly the kingdom of Judah. You have to go into Flavius Josephus. If you go in Flavius Josephus and you go to the War of the Jews, which was book 6, chapter 9, and 418 is going to tell you a little bit more of where we went and how we got to where we got to. So if you go there, if you go through that chapter, it's talking about when Emperor Titus came and sacked Jerusalem. So it says, and as for the rest of the multitude that were about 17 years old, he put them into bonds and sent them to the Egyptian mines. Titus also sent a great number into the provinces as a present to them, that they might be destroyed upon their theaters by the sword and by the wild beasts. But those that were under 17 years of age were sold for slaves. So they sold our young men. And see, you see how they reconciling at the age of 17. So you see where they get this 18 thing from. That's the heathen that do that. You not even reconcile as a man until you 20 in Hebrew culture. And science has caught up with that and showed you that until you're at the age of 21, your brain isn't even fully composed yet. Your depth perception, which is the only thing that differentiates a female brain from a male brain, is that part of the brain that allows you to have depth perception, to be able to take something and put it in the area visually. That's the only thing that separates a female brain from a male brain. There is absolutely no other difference. That doesn't even fully develop in human beings until they're 21. That's why at age 18, you can't drive as good as you drive at age 21. In addition to the experience, your brain hasn't developed that yet, and speed and differentiating speed. And this is what the Israelites understood that. That's why they wouldn't send their men to war until 20. Because you can't even see how fast a sword is swinging until you get to that age. So this shows you we were sent into Africa, further into Africa and the other provinces, and sold to slavery. So we went to the Egyptian mines, and where we were in Egyptian mines, we were also sent into Western Africa. If you go to Babylon and Timbuktu, it'll give you more trail on that as well. So this is how we went. A lot of us were in the continent of Africa. We weren't all sent to America. A lot of the northern tribes fled into Africa. A lot of them were sent into further into land of Shem, the Middle East, what they call now. Further into the Arabia and all those areas where the Syrians were, and Syria and all those areas where we were sent. So we know the last tribes to remain were Benjamin, Levi, and Yehuda that comprised the kingdom of Judah. So that means the slave trade, which were the people that were brought out of Egypt and brought out of Western Africa, all those areas there, all those people were part of that slave trade. So you're likely, if you came from the transcontinental slave trade, you're likely of the tribes Benjamin, Levi, Yehuda. But even then, you can't guarantee that you're of any. You can't even guarantee you Israel. But that's why we don't claim a specific tribe. We don't say we Judah. We don't say we Benjamin. We don't say we Levi. And again, that the fact that pull up that verse where it says we're dispersed. Judah is dispersed into four corners.
From 2 Kings?
Nah, with Judah, it says Judah is dispersed. What verse is that?
Judah dispersed
into the four corners.
You want me to do just a regular eastward?
Yeah, let's just look that up real quick. Isaiah chapter 11. Yeshayah chapter 11. And that 12 tribes charter, you got to look up the history of that. That came from one elder who had a dream, and he took that dream and he made that dream like this is the truth. Doesn't mean he's wrong. Just disagrees with scripture. So I can't follow somebody's dream if it disagrees with scripture. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Yasharal, and gather together the dispersed of Yehuda. Where they dispersed? From the four corners of the earth. So Judah can't only be in America if they're dispersed to the four corners of the earth. So that 12 tribes chart is just false. Furthermore, where are you getting this from? Where is your slave manifest or something that's giving you that? Could some of us be in Puerto Rico? Of course we know that. Could some of us be in Haiti? We know that for a fact. The slave ships went all those places. But to say only that tribe went there based on somebody who had a dream, and without going into these scriptures and pulling the precepts line by line, it don't add up. And furthermore, how are you going to tell me the slave owner, the Gentile slave owner, Euro-Gentile, just because he's in the same place as an actual slave descendant, that both of them are Israel? That don't add up. You can call that a racist doctrine if you want, but it just don't add up. How can two black people have a whole nation of some non-melanin people? You can have a child that's albino, but you're not going to have a whole nation of albinos come out of that one person. Don't add up. So again, It ain't to focus on skin color, this, that, and the other, but it's just to focus on the truth. Focus on what's here written. So again, people ask us, how do you know what tribe you are? We can't tell you what tribe we are specifically. We can only limit it to historically what we're likely. We're likely of the kingdom of Judah, or Judea, however they call it. So that's Benjamin, Levi, Yehuda. So we could very well be Levi. And Levi supposed to cover their head. So we keep our heads covered. We're priests. And furthermore, we're a nation of priests. A priest is just an officiator. The Levites were given a certain officiating job in the temple to do what they did. But there was priests that did other things. So at the end of the day, if we're a kingdom of priests, a nation of priests, then we are given the example of how a priest is supposed to operate, how he's supposed to sanctify himself. I think he wasn't supposed to, he couldn't be married to a whore. He had to be with a woman that understood the law. All these type of things. So we have to follow this example. So unless we have any further question, we got a question?
Just want to add, I'm glad that we're getting into, the law and trying to clear some areas, that have some divisions and some schisms, or just people just want to know. But when it comes down to salvation issues, then we need to understand we need to be spiritual Israelites, because unless we, know how to go all the way back and learn our total genealogy, which I don't know how we do that. The main thing is that we become spiritual Israelites, do the will of the Most High, and He'll sort us out in that day.
Exactly.
Where we go, because we don't know those things. We've gone through, our people have gone through a rough historical life patch, where because of our disobedience and our separation and our slavery, our bondages and deliverance, and escaping to freedom and then being shifted all over the world, and then certain people dabbled in our DNA and so forth. Yahweh knows how to sort those things out, and it's good to know this information, so we can establish on how we should think and how we should get as close as we can to the Most High, or what He allows us to understand it in His Torah. We just need to basically understand our salvation issues, and know how we need to walk upon this world to change our ways, and you and I both know, brother, that we all got some rough ways, you know what I mean? So our life walk is to change our ways, become more like the Most High, but learn of our history, of our apostle history, and just follow the ways of the Most High, so we can hopefully live in that kingdom,
All praises. And that's an excellent point, because we were in the land. We knew what tribe we were. We knew who our forefather was. We knew we knew who the Most High was. We knew all these things, but yet we still transgressed. So being natural Israel is not, or bloodline Israel is not going to gain you no entryway into the kingdom. All it's going to do is guarantee you're going to get your behind whooped if you don't keep these commandments. So the focus is to become Yasharal in spirit. And there's only one way anybody can become Yasharal in spirit, which is to be upright with all, to be Yezrun, to be, the Prince of Power. And the only way you get real power and be real upright is to keep the ways of the Most High and use that to seek perfection, to seek his approval. And if you seek His approval, you will become Yasharal. Because it says flesh and blood is not going to inherit the kingdom. So if flesh and blood ain't going to inherit the kingdom, what makes you think your bloodline going to make you inherit the kingdom? He's letting you know that ain't going to get you nothing. Because after the case, He would have saved all of Israel and brought us in there. But He said all of Israel be saved. But then He turns around and says all they of Israel are not Israel. So that's letting you know it's deeper than a bloodline. So the focus shouldn't be trying to always make yourself natural Israel. And that's why these other nations that just want to make themselves Israel. Don't do that. Make yourself righteous first. And you could be Israel. We might got it backwards. It could have messed up the whole Bible. But at the end of the day, these commandments are going to be commandments regardless of who you are. And if you think you're Israel, you better conduct yourself like that. You can think you are and not be. But if that means you held yourself to a higher standard, what are you going to do? Say, oh, you know what? You kept all the commandments, but you're not Israel, so I'm sorry. Nah. He going to say, man, you're a special vessel because you disobeyed all those evil angels I sent to your nation to lead you away from me, but yet you still found your way to me. And you didn't boast yourself against nobody. So we should be seeking to be right with this word. Let him sort it out. At the end of the day, man, if you living forever and happy, it's no sorrow, no pain, no nothing, you ain't gonna care what you are. You happy. You can't even be sad about who you are because it doesn't exist anymore. So what is your focus? Trying to convince everybody you tribe of Issachar or try to convince the Most High that you're righteous, that I'm worthy of being saved and cleansed.
Yeah.
So let's see, did we miss any comments in here?
What was that last?
Shout out to Brother Brandon Pierce. Brother been with us for a while. It says, I believe he scattered us so thoroughly that everyone in the room could all be different tribes or even have bloodline from different tribes. There's no way to be 1,000% sure. You're absolutely right. And the fact that you can't have 1,000% is also right too. But I get the point. I understand. There's no way. You're being haughty and you're being prideful to guarantee what tribe you are. Unless you got some kind of written documents. If you just got some written documents that have survived, I ain't arguing with you. It's way more than what I got. All right. Let's see. Okay. Somebody asked about the explaining the head covering, and I think he went back and saw that. Okay, and Brother Israel says he subscribes to the single tassel and four corners, but he has garments with both of them. Amen. Hedge your bet. I used to do the four corners. I used to do the clip-ons, do all that stuff. You know what I mean? If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. The Most High not going to persecute us for that. He's going to say, were you trying to keep your mind on these commandments? Oh, yeah, by the way, it's supposed to be this way. He's not going to torture you for that. Now, if you knew and you read that it's supposed to be this way, you're like, nah, I already paid his clothes this way. I ain't changing. He knows what's in your heart. That's different. All right. Let's see. I think we caught everything here. Again, if we missed anything, definitely send us a message. We'll definitely get in there and we'll answer any questions. Shout out to Arthurine Campbell. Sisters always coming to the classes. Gishi Cole. Good to see you as well. And Kim Marie as well. Good to see you, sis. Shout out to Yafi Yehuda. Good to see you, brother. Appreciate the encouragement and the support. You know, brother Yafi is supported Yahshua Israelite gathering. We appreciate that. May Yah add an increase to you for that. Brother Israel, like we said. Chris Whitehead, shout out to Chris Whitehead. Much love to the Kings.
We have one question.
What's that Polyyahu right before the last? It says
we have Ashley Golden said, what makes Israelites and Christians? Okay. A Christian is, first of all, look up the root word for Christian, which is Christ or Christos. The root of that goes all the way to Cretan. So look that up. But a Christian, every time it was used 2 times or 3 times in the Bible. Every time it's used in a negative connotation. It would be like me calling you something that's taking away from what you are. That's like you're a 8-time gold medalist 100-meter sprinter. And I say, everybody here, you have, Usain Bolt. Everybody knows him. Yeah, he runs track. That's all you're going to give me? I run track? Bro, I'm the fastest man alive. You can't give me my respect. So if you're an Israelite, it's stating that I know who I am. I know my culture. And when the time when they were calling people Christians, they were people that had lost their culture. They had been Hellenized. They didn't even speak Hebrew. They were like us. They didn't even know who they were, many of them. So once they found out who they were, you were calling them something else, which was a derogative term back then. That's being disrespectful. to even the point where Kiefer said, look, if they call you a Christian,
Suffer.
they're calling it, exactly, suffer that. Suffer it so. They're calling you that for a negative reason, but you take it as a positive reason. I'm following Christ. So that's the difference. Israelite are just the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel, which are the males that are born from males, that were born from males, that were born from males of the tribes of Israel. 12 sons of Jacob, or 13 sons of Jacob. So that's the only difference. A Christian is a religion with Christianity. True Christianity is just followers of Christ, which kept the commandments. That's all that was. But it's been Hellenized and turned into a Greek religion, which has been mixed with all this paganry that didn't even come from the Greeks, that they stole from melanin people, from Babylonians and from Egyptians and from all these other gods that Israel used to run behind too from the other nations. So that's the really only difference. And when we say Christians, we talk about the modern Christianity. We're not trying to talk down on anybody, because at the end of the day, everybody in this room and everybody, majority of these viewers, all came out of Christianity. We all came from following Christ. We follow this word, it's going to lead you back to who you are. So by all means, there's a purpose for that. Mm-hmm. You said there was something else?
Yeah, bro.
And Apaliyahu here
I
in...
want to add a little bit to that.
Okay. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Elder.
Just like you said, about following Christ. I remember the scripture, chapter 13, you had mentioned about the word Niger and dealing with, black. And we also dealt with the word Christian in that time, but also in reference to that part, Acts 26:28, they used it, I'll just read that phrase, the verse, talking about then Agrippa said unto Saul, almost thou persuadest me to become a follower of Messiah. Basically, he was talking about he made it called Christ, Christos, the anointed one and so forth. And so he used the word Messiah, and we have to look at that when I'm saying, okay, maybe become a Christian. Because back then it was trying to use words to ridicule it. Just like whatever state you live in, they call you by that state, whether Georgia and Louisiana and whatever.
Right.
And back then they called them, Christians, or because they wanted to follow the Christ, the anointed one, and so forth. And so they ridiculed the Judah and other nations that was against that level of belief, because they believed that it would be contrary to the belief system of that nation or to their government. They didn't condone that. So always finding ways to go against that movement. And for Agrippa, which I think Agrippa was a term I remember, the general, so forth.
Yeah, that's exactly who he was talking to. Right.
He said he listened to the word, but also he said you almost
persuade me to be a Christian,
a follower of the Messiah. I think also they go further than Acts 11 and 1 Peter 4. But I just made that one point up. How it was trying to use the persuasiveness of when they meant being a Christian at that time.
Right.
But to be honest with you, I'm not too sure they even used the word Christian instead of Christos.
Yahshua never called nobody Christian. Everybody that followed Yahshua, they were called the Lamadine. They were called disciples, or they were called the sect of the Nazarenes. It didn't say they're going them Christians over there. And brother Brandon Pierce made a comment too, which ties in right with what the elder was saying with Niger or nigger is what it's pronounced, nigger in Greek. If you go to Acts chapter 13 and verse 1 or 2, I believe, they called the Christians nigger. And if you look that up, and I say nigger because you got to look at how it's pronounced, nigger, not Niger, N-E-E-G. So they were calling them, and they were calling them that. And these were disciples that they were calling that. So it is a synonym for black, because it literally meant black. So we tell people, I ain't no nigga, don't call me no nigga. But then you comfortable with them calling you black. They calling you a color, like you a property. Like you are a product of something. You know what I'm saying? So it's just equally offensive to be called a nigger or called black. Same thing. But we took it to our own, just like Brandon Pierce said, well, that's my N-I-G-G-A. We took it to our own. And we take anything because we don't know who we are. We didn't know we was kings and queens. So It's an offensive word to somebody who knows who you are. If you know that I'm an Israelite, you didn't see them calling the Greeks something else. They were called Kittim, or they were called, Javan or whatever. They were called by their nation. But then now you come to us, you want to call us a color, or you want to call us after a Cretan, which was the island where they put retarded people at. So this is why, and if you look at Jeepers, Creepers, and all these negative connotations that went in with all these Greek words, like Jesus is a Greek word, all these different things, so we're trying to get back to the culture to understand that. So again, we don't try to attack Christians. We don't try to attack anybody. We try to present you the truth. And if you consider that being attacked, you got to wonder, why does the truth feel like it's attacking you? But what the truth does is cuts up the heat around here. I think Brother Yitzhak said that we were being called Christian before Christ, which is interesting. I'd like to see that. That's interesting. I can believe it, though. We're called good men or followers of Mithras. There you go. Paliyahu brought it out. See, I learn from these brothers all the time. We always learning. And Mithraism is where they get that cross from. Because the cross was the derivative of the Ankh. Again, Mithraism, they stole that from the Egyptians, from the Ankh, which is supposed to mean eternal life. But at the end of the day, the cross, which is just an poison sign, turned sideways. Just
I have a question for Brother Yitzhak.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, brother, why you got 2 pages though?
You got 2 pages?
Yeah, he has one where it's the black and white photo, and he has this one where it's the colored photo.
You got 2 pages? Because he got to be able to talk to 2 people at the same time. He just be like, this is a knowledgeable person. This guy doesn't know anything. Brother's ambidextrous.
He's here on the page. I thought he had shut down. Now he's on it. It's active again. They got 2 different profile pictures.
Right. So yeah, Mithraism. You think the cross started with Christianity? There is no Hebrew word for cross, because when Hebrew was out, we weren't dealing with Mithraism. This is Greeks taking something from somebody else and making up some crap.
Staros.
You know what I'm saying? Straws, yeah, for cross. It was a torture state. And furthermore, all the accounts are telling you point blank, he was hung from a tree. So all this cross, they ain't got absolutely nothing to do with the Mashiach. Christmas ain't got nothing to do with Mashiach. That's why they had Xmas, because you can exert any God you want to in that thing. Even when you look at what Catholicism call their stuff, they call it Mass. When you look at Ma'as and see what that means. Oppressor and oppression. Massa. We was calling him Massa. We was calling him oppressor. He thought we calling him master. No, we calling you oppressor. Hey, oppressor. You sure, Massa? No problem, Massa. You oppressor. We'll talk crap right in their face. Let's see if we missed anybody. Great comments, by the way. Okay, sister said she knew to the walk. That's why she asked. Let's ask. Definitely ask. We all were new at one point. And in perspective, we still new. We very new. Some just, took the dip a little bit earlier than others. All right. There you go. Paliyahu said to be a ruler of self or a champion of self is Israel, not to rule others. He who rules with Elohim is Israel. I like that. Brother Paliyahu's definitely been studying some great philosophies. And, furthermore, we were first taught, if it ain't the Bible, stay away from it. Righteousness is universal. It was just given to us in more detail because we had a higher calling. But any righteousness that's out there came from Yah. Ain't no man created no righteousness. So if you find righteousness in something else, take it as a grain of salt and hold it up against your map. And if it matches your map, it's taking you to the same destination. Learn from it, grow from it. But I wouldn't start doing that first. Learn righteousness first before you start jumping out to all these other books. Learn the basics, the first 5 books. Learn what you can do and can't do, and learn the proper application of it in the New Testament, and then start branching out.
Hallelujah. Any questions or comments in-house?
Oh, you guys are doing great.
All right. Let's see. All right. I think that's about it. Again, if we missed anybody, we apologize. If you email us, we'll always get back to you, and we'll give you, all the proof that we have. And again, we don't teach stuff like it's the absolute truth. We teach you this is the best that we have to offer to this exact moment, and it changes every second. But what won't change is our firm belief, because the foundation is not going to change. The righteous is not going to change. You're just going to be more perfected as time goes. So that's what we're all looking to do. So all praises again. Thank you, everybody that joined. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the support on the page. Again, the page is not just for us. We got the page. Majority of the stuff on the page is not us. It's stuff we got from other brews that are spreading good information. And all we do is take it and put it so that everybody can find it in one place. So this is very much success of Israel, of Yasharal, period. It's not us. We just want to give glory to the Most High for allowing us to achieve that goal, where without selling out, without having to sit up here and put 15 different posts about, having multiple wives, or 15 different posts about Jesus was black, or all the stuff that's going to get you all the fame and white man is wicked and white man is Esau and all that. We ain't trying to debate. You got people you want to hear debate, you go watch politics. There's plenty of that. But you want to learn how to be more righteous, then, definitely seek Israelite Gathering page, and all the people you see commenting and posting and adding and adding knowledge, seek those individuals as well, because every last person that has contributed to our learning and our growth as well. And if it's true and we can verify, it becomes part of our doctrine. It's permanent with us. So, and we're not beyond correction either. If you disagree or you see something different, by all means, bring it up. Send it to us. We'll review it. Because if you have the truth, we won't be able to dispute it. And then now we'll keep the truth. But if you're wrong, we'll be able to dispute it. One of the things that we disputed was the new moon. We were able to destroy that doctrine just with simple math. But at one point we was teaching new moon. But when we saw, I think it was Brother Paliyahu, I think was even the one that brought Enoch to me personally. And was able to show us some different things and challenge us. And Paliyahu didn't have all the answers, but he said, hey, y'all need to look at this. And Brother Paliyahu and I got together and we assembled everybody we could invite, and Paliyahu moderated, and I controlled the phone conference to cut people on and this, that, and the other. And we got together and we learned how to get closer to getting this calendar correct. And we probably still don't have it 100% correct, but we got it to the best of everything that we can bring together. So if you see anything different, we don't take it as a challenge. Bring it to us and we'll review it, and we'll either confirm or deny. And it doesn't change anything with you or change anything with us, but at least information is presented. So if that's it, we'll go ahead and end in prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings, and all sisters pray with their heads covered. And we're going to face the east towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple in Yahshua HaMashiach shall return.
Hallelujah.
All right. Brother West, be fitting for you, brother, one of the newer members. Go ahead and close this out.
Abba, Father, Yah, Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Yeshach, and Yaakov. We thank you, Father Yah, for allowing us to gather on this day and seek you and get into your word once again, Father Yah. It's been an edifying evening, and we thank you for just allowing this to take place and allowing our brothers to do your work and to do the works that you require of them, Father. So In Yeshua HaMashiach's holy mighty name we pray. Thank you for everything. Amen.
Amen.